Good morning. This one's called Shape of Me. That title is it's too gay. Way too gay, you know? But I didn't put much thought into it. But as soon as I wrote it, I was like, well, it has to be that, but that sounds a bit too gay, so I'm going to have to go from there. And I'm going to talk about the main point that I experience in my journey of gender dysphoria. My journey of gender dysphoria. Is pain. Like physical pain, as you know, imagine, say you're running along, you're on your evening jog, you've got your joggers on, you're running along, and then all of a sudden you run into a piece of barbed wire that is stretched across the fucking path that some little delinquent has stuck there, and it rips you entirely in half, not entirely in half, but just like completely destroys your midriff where it hits you, and then gives you a big jolt and a big shock as you fucking hook over the top of it. Like that, it's that pain. It's not like the pain of my fucking unicorn spirit. That's not that. It is nothing like that at all. This pain started as when I would declare myself as an absolute 100% man. And that pain was man pain. It's like, because I've spent the early years of my life, a big portion of it, like 20 years, basically lifting ridiculous things and doing manual labor. There are almost no women that do the job that I do, and there are no women that do the job the way that I did it. Now, the thing that shocks me is how drastically different my functional body is from whatever the fuck I was walking around in. Do you know what I mean? That absolutely shocks me. Because it is, and the reason it shocks me is because it is well beyond, extremely far beyond the realms that any responsible chiropractor or physiotherapy or even surgeon or doctor or anything would ever be able to recommend anyone consider. Which tells me that we have some really large problems. And then I'll remind everyone again that aligning things to millimeter precision that are really heavy and awkward and fragile is my job. Angles are my job. Orientation is my job. Being level and plumb and true, and distributing weight and engineering, fastening so that you don't end up with a 2-ton, glass facade killing your children as they walk along the sidewalk to go and get a croissant. So I have a professional place to speak about my own body and its own shape. And so then, now that we have that declared, let's look at personality, and let's look at if there is male and female personality. Kind of, but then there is just an absolute, especially now, there is an absolute fucking mixing of those two things. Like they're interchangeable. There are countless examples of men who are feminine and countless examples of women who are masculine. It doesn't matter. That's obviously not it. Now, then you get to the obvious one that everyone's talking about is genitalia, and it's like, okay, yeah, righto. Genitalia. But it's like, that's also the same. It's literally like the same way as I've done this. It's like, all right, let's get a vagina and a fucking penis. Like, they're ovaries, by the way, the one on the left, ovaries and a vagina, and then, testicles and a penis. It's like they're just inversions of each other on the outside of the body, right? So again, not particularly relevant. And the other thing, the major thing about genitals is you cannot see them unless you're having sex with someone. I think that's the most important. And no one should be looking, especially if unless they're their parents, no one should be looking at a kid's fucking genitals. And this is the thing, doctors should. Or it's like, well, no, they shouldn't, unless there is a serious fucking problem. And the problem of one being inverted and one being external, it's like, no, you're not at a problem yet. You're just making excuses to look at children's genitals. So the two obvious, like, personality, no, completely interchangeable. And then the organs, like, are inversion, they're the same, and you shouldn't be looking at them anyway. And it's only a concern, really, like, the only people, majoritively, that have seen my genitals are my sexual partners. So it's like, okay, rightio. Now, the thing that I am I won't say a professional because that sounds ridiculous, but and I won't say expert. What am I going to say? I'm a relevantly, sufficiently skilled and experienced practitioner of the physical world, I suppose. And the body exists in the physical world. And I have a heightened sense of spatial awareness and things like that to do with shapes and sizes and movements, because it is my profession. And not in a conflict, like, not in a strange, like, I don't have a conflict of interest to procure bodies to work on, because I wasn't working on bodies, but I can accept that the body lives in the physical world, and that I have my very own body to experiment with. I don't need to experiment with other bodies. So the largest thing for me is the shape of my body, and it does not lie. Like, it doesn't. It can't lie. And the shape of my body basically is like that. Okay? And when it's like that, now the problem is that getting my body like that is extremely painful, because I was told that my body was like that over and over and over again by every single thing. I was told that this is the body of a female, of a woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then I was told that movement based on a body like that is female, is feminine. And I'm still not at a point where I'm wanting to play with fucking dolls. So what I'm finding here, let's link the evidence up, okay? We have an obsession with personality, which is irrelevant, and it's openly discussed, openly examples everywhere, constantly, and not new. This is a long time. This has been there for ages, of personality being interchangeable. Really, really significant examples of personality androgyny, like or swapping and things like that for a long time, for all time. And then genitals are an external, like they're a kind of They're not crucial. Like, you don't lift a shopping bag with your genitals. Right, I can lift a shopping bag. No, I'm just anyway. But you don't lift things with your genitals. You don't sit on them. You don't swing them from the trees to fucking lasso branches. And then they're used for one thing. They're used for sex. And then if you think about sex, it's the act of putting those genitals together, which kind of neutralizes them out, makes them the same. So again, this isn't like my genitals, day-to-day life. They're not really being utilized. They're sorted for one particular purpose, unless I'm pissing, and then it's like, okay, whatever, fuck. So then we have that. Now, what it appears to me, there is a known history of medical practitioners abusing the confidence of women. That is a known thing, most significantly in mental health practices. That is, you could take that to the bank anywhere across the world. That is a known absolute. The same way as if someone comes and knocks on your door and says, hey, we've got some extra bitumen. Would you like us to fix your driveway? Or we're tree loppers. These are, especially in Australia recently, they're two things that there is a high level of, and the same with the white ant man who has the little fucking matchbox filled with white ants. Oh, I found these. We should do your white ants for you, love. All mechanics, we know these things. And we know that there is a tendency for men to avoid medical intervention and for women to be hypochondriacs, as a general statement, not a binding statement, not an absolute statement, but just a general statement. So once we combine these factors, we can see that medical practitioners have been identifying based on either personality or external genitalia, and then conforming them towards their customer base, which is females. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the completely irrelevant to gender concept of the shape of the human body and the way that it moves. The only exceptions to this are massive key outliers like male dancers. That's it. And then even still, the society, the culture, kind of tries to enforce that male dancers obviously must have a female personality, and that, they're probably upset about their external genitalia. It's like this, all these things. But the even stranger thing again, it's like, well, male dancers, very athletic, very capable, would be extremely good masculine warriors in a battlefield that took place with, swords and shields, as opposed to, drones and landmines and naval ships and aeroplanes and guns and bombs and fucking, nerve gas and fucking Agent Orange and napalm and flamethrowers and fucking, all that stuff. But there's no doubt in my mind that I am a more capable fucking warrior, or would be a more capable warrior, if the doctors would stay the fuck out of people's lives and stop trying to turn men into their clients based on arbitrary figures like this across the world. And that if society would let off on the fucking conditions a little bit of entrance to being a man or a woman, like it is fucking crazy. There is a really, really large problem that has been going on to do with almost every aspect of our physical lives. Starting from the place where we go to school and we sit at a fucking desk for hours and hours and hours and listen to someone talk about shit, which, increasingly recently started involving people talking about their personality and their gender, and in extreme cases about their external genitalia. because there's no doubt that there is a landscape of socialism that is, it is communism that is presenting itself, where there is an association, funnily enough, between, say, teachers and medical staff, because they live under the same umbrella as each other. They are public servants for the most part, or they're heavily subsidized by the state. Now, what's really strange is it's like, I built the fucking hospitals. Okay, so there's like, there is an attempt to procure new clients by feminizing them, and they're feminizing their personality, and in some cases, instructing them to then feminize their genitalia, to allow them to have the body shape and the movement presentation that is acceptable by the cohort of rigid, professionals and rigid politicians and things like that. Unless you're a male dancer, which seems really, it's like, that is an odd way to organize the world. And I can tell you how it came to be. Leaders, politicians, generals, they didn't want, amazingly capable fucking physical specimens of men roaming around, causing trouble. Like, this is like, all countries have done this. Like China, I think, and China banned martial arts. There is a really long history of dance being substituted for martial arts because it's the same. It's the same thing. Except for the fact that except dance has this other, and you could say, spiritual connection with our bodies. And this is being hyper-focused onto women and disallowed to men. It's the strangest thing, because there's been lots of accusations that the trans phenomenon is homophobic, because it's basically like, well, they just let them be gay, and that's why they want them to be a woman. But I think it goes even further than that. It's like, it's not even about being gay. You know what I mean? It's not that. It's about having a body that isn't shit as a man, having a body that works, that won't deteriorate, that is strong, that is capable, and that is, that is connected with your soul, if you wanted to be fucking spiritual and woo-woo, is not officially illegal. It's institutionally regulated that it's illegal. This is when you get a teacher. So a teacher is able to present a student to a medical industry, which is that's a conflict of interest, because those two people live under the same umbrella of the state, state remuneration, state support, state, political influence. These are large groups, teachers and nurses and doctors. They're large groups that have incredible sway over our governments. And they're trying to create a marketplace of a product and a service. But it's like the introduction of these concepts. Like, I went to this medical field. I guess I wasn't prancy enough, being that I'd been, raised and then worked in a construction job, which is, so there's this introduced class-based, profession-based racism and discrimination going on that wasn't here. It wasn't in Australia. because we didn't have Polish and Indian and Pakistani people coming and doing our work. That's now there, and because we're in a new country, like the builders, that we just have a different thing, and it's so there's an attempt to create a class divide between state-sponsored teachers and nurses and medical staff and the people that build the buildings that they live in. Then there's an attempt by these individuals to create, to perpetuate that, to say it's like, oh, this is this thing. Oh, you a bit like to basically sort like Harry Potter's sorting hat from hell, where it's like you're either a girl, right? And then so it's like, okay, so the 80% of girls are going to be wives, OnlyFans stars, nurses or teachers. And then it's like, oh, are you a bit of a tomboy? Well, then you can play women's AFL, or you can be, a girl tradie, and be, exposed to, rampant fucking sexism and rampant sexual advances and deprofessionalization, because you're not in a well-respected, well-supported, well-controlled, organized trade industry. You're in grunt land. You're in the land of the fucking, the lost boys who fucking slave tirelessly away to build the showroom for these other fucking lunatics. To build it, you build the dollhouse, and then the doctors come in there and fill it with dolls, to put it in other words. So then it's like, if you're a man, you do that. You're either military, or you're a tradie, or you're a fucking, you might go into finance or something like that. And then it's like a scale. And it's like, if you're a little bit too open with your movement of your body and your personality and all these things, then it's like, well, hey, we have an option. You can just join the girls. But still, all of this is ignoring the fact that women are being presented a functional body, because women are intended to be using their body, or more importantly, their body is intended to be used by the men. And by our state, it's like if they're producing these women, which they are, we are surrounded 24/7 by content depicting women with top level physical bodies that they are flaunting. That is an incredibly high level of exposure and of influence onto the presentation. And now, if you're a woman, there's no conflict. The conflict might be, well, I'm not an exhibitionist and I'm a bit shy and a bit introverted. That exists, okay? That's a conflict between women. But you can still have the body shape and just hide it. You don't have to flaunt it. But you're seeing examples of a human body that is functional, right? And this is because the end results, like women having sex, in the case of porn stars, they have highly functional bodies, because they've got to do all types of different things to please the male gaze. Not the male gaze, but you know what I mean. So you're seeing a functional body. The only bodies that men see are like bodybuilders or male porn stars who basically just, hammer a fucking nail away or fucking sit there. And then the only other men you see is like sports stars who have usually their body lasts until they're 40 and then it's gone. Or work people who is the same. But the problem is, it's like, if there's no doubt in my mind, it has nothing to do with personality, female personality, and nothing to do with my genitals. It's like, if I had have been allowed to just do my work, but do it without influence, without, suggestion, and without reinforced other examples, which is conformity. So you go and have to work with a bunch of fucking men who have been conforming to a bunch of men. And it's like, that body shape has an unimpeded connection with slaves. Nothing needs to be said. There were slaves doing that work, okay? And then throughout thousands of years, people have been taking the physical form of the person that they're surrounded by, and there's always a handoff. There's a handoff. Now, the thing is, it's like, so are the women, so are the prostitutes, so are the OnlyFans, so are the porn stars. They were slaves as well. They were sex slaves. And this is where it's like, that's not our culture. Our culture of women were extremely well dressed, so you couldn't see their body shapes. Yeah, and they would say they'd be dressed like here to here, like long things, and then long dresses and all different things that impede you being able to see exactly what their body's doing. So that veil, that garment allowed women to just be like, some of the mannerisms and things like that was done, but the ultimate shape of the body was not seen. And so women were, within that freedom, they were allowed to adapt their own body that functions. And this is like, when I look at most women, their physical function is at such a higher level than men. Not necessarily like they can't lift a fucking car over their head or throw a fucking shot put, you know what I mean, or swing a sword. They're not always coordinated in their movement. That's not what I'm saying. But they are efficiently utilizing the full functionality of their body. This is the archetype. Like, if you think of a geisha, right? Again, long garbs, all these things, very, very humble, like they shuffle around, all their movements are hyper efficient. Like, even think of a geisha getting down on the floor. It's like, it's this full on, it's like watching a fucking, like a flower open. And there's no doubt in my mind that this was kind of curated by the male gaze, because, nature is beautiful. Like, a flower gently opens. And so, if you want to be an ultimate feminist and go on to the fact, I'm not saying that that's the model. I'm breaking down the observation. But it doesn't matter whether that's contrived, whether they contrived it for themselves between women, things, which is more than likely. It was more than likely a combination. They are efficiently utilizing their body and appropriately, because there is no rush. Nature doesn't rush. Nothing else in nature rushes unless it's being chased or chasing. That's it. And think about what is sport if it isn't that? All sport is that. It is chasing and being chased. Shown. That's all we see. That is all we see. Now, men, there is a cohort of men, these ultra spiritual people that are doing this. It's like, and it's okay, it's good, but then there's a whole bunch of negative shit towards it. And they're basically just imitating the doctors or teachers, right? But it doesn't fix the problem, because there's instantly a divide, because it's like they're setting themselves against the thing. They're not empathizing with the people because they've never done the work. And the main problem is, if you are allowed for some unique reason, either you've got resources or you have exposure to a open environment, or you're doing these, and so you are able to, to establish your physical body in a adversarial or adversational fucking shape and form, you don't understand a person that isn't that. You cannot heal them. You cannot give advice, because your advice is it's like a flower. It's like, imagine a flower that's allowed to just open. It's just doing its thing. It's right. It's there and it's done. Right now, wrap some wire around a fucking flower and then punch it, and beat it with fucking thing. Pour fucking chemicals all over it and make it fucking, make it work. And then imagine that flower opening. And then it's like, imagine the flower that's just been allowed to open, coming to that flower and being like, all you need to do is just release, just do a light, just go up to a wall and press the wall hard with your leg up. That's not enough. It's not enough. So it's like we have some of the most highly paid professionals. They're professional con men, in my thing, that they can only do one thing. They can reassure women that their presentation of their thing, which is what the emperors would have been doing to the geishas. They'd be like, you look like a beautiful flower. Perhaps you could tie a scarf and just gently do this, and that will allow you to fully present this beautiful fucking stamen for fucking whatever. It's like that. And then some guy comes in that's more than likely like literally built with blood, sweat, and tears the building that he's sitting in. Not paid anywhere enough, not done any of these things. And then the guy's like, oh, I'll just give you a little rub in the back. Come back every week. That's bullshit. And I think literally what needs to happen is every one of these teachers and every one of these doctors needs to be sent out of the buildings. Those buildings need to be immediately utilized for rehabilitation of like the gross amount of the population, the largest portion, the most beneficial, the most active, like the most capable of weathering this storm. They need to be allowed there to develop strategies for what we're going to do. Because this is a fucking nightmare. And the problem is, it's like, this isn't our class system. We're not in England. These people aren't fucking lords and ladies of fucking some family estate. Some of them kind of are, but they're not. They just aren't. We're a big fucking mess. And there's people literally that were enslaved by us who've, done all right on the fucking pokies at some point. Like their grandfather, I don't know, developed a fucking distribution chain for fucking wine corks. And now they're here playing as if they're sitting in the fucking emperor's thing, training geishas. And, to avoid them all being killed, that needs to happen. They need to leave the fucking place. You are useless. Women are fine. Women don't have any of the constraints on their bodies. All the presentations of female bodies are pretty well, they're pretty good. And you can see that. How? Because there's a million examples on pornography of those women presenting all different types of fucking, movement and actions. There's countless examples of women dancers. I used to just think, honestly, I was like, women just can dance. And it was only when I found a few women, I had a few girlfriends that couldn't dance. And I was like, oh, no, they can't. Hang on. And that's how fucking ingrained this constant fucking stimulation is of our observational patterns. And it leads to this ridiculousness. And it's like, I can build just as well, maybe not quite as quick, but I could have been able to build and work in the physical world just as well. And if I watch women working in the physical world, like doing manual labor, like it instantly, I'm like, oh my God. I go, that's my body. That she's doing all the things. I can't believe I wasn't allowed to do that. Because a lot of times women, if they do manual labor, they go off and do it. They'll do it on their own property, or they'll do, they're by themselves. It's just them and their partner. They've already been free to express themselves physically their entire lives. So then when they progress into manual labor, they just take those traits in, and there's no hurry. Like this already exists in the recruitment for mining companies, that they all claim that they hire women to drive their dump trucks because women are slow and steady. Now, this is because all men are constantly shown only one image of man, and that is a man either attacking or escaping, in a simulated sense. That's it. And it's like, we don't need that. We haven't needed that for a long time. It's like just the same as I can do manual labor just as well with and I have to with a female body, even though it's not. It's actually just a functional body. Like animals, majority of animals, if you're 500 meters away and you see a horse running, you can't tell whether that horse is a male or female. Dolphins. It's like, does that dolphin swim a bit gayer or something? So that doesn't exist. It's like, it's difficult to to piece these things together. And the thing is like brute force, you know, and adaptive brawn will, in a lot of cases of simulated either attack or escape, be beneficial. But you don't see the whole thing. You don't see an AFL player's whole life in the moment where they get a mark or they kick a goal. You don't see that. You know, but we're shown that non-stop. You don't see them in 15 years, you know, being an alcoholic fucking meth addict, you know, trying to breaking into any of these things in agony or something. You don't see that. And it's not a matter of just replacing it with women, although that does help, because you still got to deal with the dynamics between men. It's like men are going to aspire to be the man who's successful. So if a successful man is constantly being really good at imitating either attacking or escaping, they will just do that. And the worst thing, that they will never imitate women. It doesn't matter how normal you make women's AFL or any of these things. It's like they just won't. That will make it worse, not better. And it's weird. It's like our children should be being taught by physically capable women who are doing manual labor. And I think there's a little bit of this. It's like a classroom used to be more like that. There used to be more manual labor involved. Like it's like a teacher could just as easily, I don't know, go and do things. You can even think of this, like think of the art teacher who's a bit boyish, and she's doing like that's way better. I think I was lucky I had teachers like that, but still I was trapped in the man world. So it's like when I get to a thing and I let myself go into it, I'm like, alrighty. And I do start emulating these like teachers or different people that I had in my life that were women, like really capable women. And then if I allow myself to emulate that, and it's fucking amazing. Like some days I'll kind of revert and I'll be sitting there and I'm like, oh, I'm really fat. I'm all this weird, like, oh, I can't move, I'm disabled. And then the next day I will like elongate and hold posture of like a teacher I had in year one or something like that. And then be like, oh, I'm kind of getting skinny and my hips are doing these things. And I'm like, oh. And that shows the level of how intense this level is. And the problem is, it's like I'm in a generation that took the brunt of this. Now, not the generation below me have taken worse hits, but the generations above have no idea. They have no fucking idea. And they weren't as hyper exposed to these things, and they're more closed off and more judgmental and more, you know, stuck in their ways. But the main thing is, like, I just can't get to the point. It's like it has nothing to do with gender. It's like we have a global scale movement crisis being harvested, you know, and it's like they're not all, like in my case, I never got slipped through. Like no one ever said, oh, you have gender dysphoria. Not one fucking person. It was you have a mental illness to begin with, because that was just, you know, that was a recruitment drive from my mother being a lifelong card carrying fucking distributor for the fucking pharmaceutical company. And then it went to, oh, both your hips need replacing. And the level of how extreme the difference in movement is. Like I was talking about it yesterday. It feels like I'm bent in half backwards. Like imagine my legs are snapped back like that. That's how extreme it feels. Because, and this is the thing, it's like our bodies, we perceive the movements and the changes way larger than they are because we live in that thing. And it's not that odd. It's like if you're on a ship, there's a really good metaphor of two ships traveling in the same direction and they both change 1 degree. right? Those ships very quickly end up very far apart. So it's like angles and degrees. They might start small, but they had this huge influence. And then we're living inside it. And we've more than likely been conditioned and become very normalized in either the movement or the habit or the behavior or whatever, or the presentation that we've been living within. And so to change is fucking huge. And no professional can do it. Like, they sit on you, they look at you, and they're like, oh, yeah, buddy, you got to do this. Even like personal trainers, all of them. Personal trainers are just training unimpeded people to be high performing. That's easy. That's easy. That's like getting a car off the fucking showroom and driving it around a racetrack. That's it. But they're claiming to be healers. They're not healers. You know, the people that are coming in there that really need the help, they're not off the showroom. They've been crashed and driven off a fucking cliff, and they've rolled, you know, and someone stuck the wrong petrol in them. And then these yuppies are sitting there being like, no, I'll light some candles on your chakra and stick a little fucking hot stone on your spine. It's like, that is disgraceful. And I think that we need to start returning the favor. It's like, if you want your fucking plumbing done, you know what I mean? Make sure that you fuck up some of their other plumbing in a really crucial spot that floods their house, so they have to come back and pay thousands of dollars to get their house fixed. If you want your window fixed, I'll make sure that I run the glass cutter through a couple of other windows so that you have a couple of cracks emerge. Oh, the cracks are bad these days. We've got this Chinese glass, you know what I mean? You know, if you want your driveway fixed, make sure you fucking dig a big hole and fucking thing so it all caves in and fucks up. If you want to catch a fucking bus, you know what I mean? Make sure that the fucking, I don't know, that you're filming all the women under their fucking dresses or something like that. If you want to fucking catch an airplane, like, make sure, just the list goes on. If the behavior that is being seen by teachers and fucking the medical industry was being projected in any other fucking world, you'd know about it really quickly. And all it is elitism that they're mimicking. They're mimicking the elitism, and no one's told them, right? Because just the same as the manual laborers, they're imitating slavery, right? This class of teachers, not so much teachers are teachers have a weird different thing, but there's a big international, you know, teachers movement that is all, you know, bolstering each other's insanity. But the medical people, they are instantly imitating the elitist mindset that their predecessors had because they were members of a higher class, right? They're just imitating that. That's the same. And it's like all the problems are from this imitation being undisclosed and falsely diagnosed and falsely or represented and, you know, stuck into these camps of like LGBTQ fucking thing or trans fucking whatever, or, you know, the influencer culture or fashion or something. It's like, it's not that. It's really fucking simple. We are fucking humans. We are physical beings, and we should be allowed to develop properly. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just don't think there is any way forward because you're just perpetually creating problems. And now what's even worse is you're flooding it with false things. So it's like the perception, basically, if you're a young man growing up in 2026, going through the normal system, right? And you have a higher, so maybe less imitative, less conforming, right? More open, you're just going to think that you're gay or that you're trans. Because you're going to want your body to be proper, and this is the thing. It's like, and you're being allowed to, but you're being farmed to the gays and to the cosmetic industry and to the surgeons and to everyone else. You're just being farmed there because you're allowed to go through, and the reason you're allowed to go through is because the distribution, the fucking lowering of the status of people in the physical world has gotten to such a level. You know, the high level profiting of pornography and sex slavery and sex work and all these things and just all of this shit People need coffee, people need all these things. It's like that's leading to this. But even that's going to end because we have AI. We have these computers. Like the only people we need are people that can do things in the physical world. And my only request is that they are allowed, free from fucking interference by teachers or medical professionals. They're allowed to, because they utilize their body at the highest level. We all benefit from them utilizing their body and their mind to build us things, or to drive things around or to do any of the manual labor that we have. Can we allow them to develop a healthy fucking body? Because they're not fucking slaves. You know what I mean? And this is getting to some really fucking serious pinch points societally, and it is so volatile. It's so that conflict, if you understand all the things connected to it, has the highest level of absolutely off the fucking reservation, ridiculous, violent retaliation, which, believe it or not, I'm trying to prevent. If these truths start landing in the wrong place, in the wrong distribution, with the wrong intensity, you know what I mean? There will be uprisings. There will be decimation of this mooching class. And this has happened, and it's like, I'm not a fucking communist. I'm not a fucking fascist. I'm not a fucking socialist. I'm not any of these things. I'm a person that wants to be able to build my own house, and in the process of doing this, see, I did the manual skills, not because I had to, not because my dad did, and I was this and this and this. I did it so I'd learn the skills so I could do my own shit, so I'd be independent. Now, the problem with being a doctor or a medical person, right, is you don't have that mentality. And the only benefit you have is prescribing yourself with drugs, which they all do. They all do that. And they all prescribe each other fucking drugs, which amplifies the normal, the normalization of drug use and, recreational prescription drug use was masterminded by the doctors. It's just another fucking display of their elitist mindset, where they do this outward thing, then they prescribe themselves the drugs, and they use that as like a status. Hey, do you want some drugs? I've got a little book here. No, don't worry about the thing. I can just get you what do you want? You want some fucking uppers? You want some downers? You want some muscle relaxant? What do you want? Because that's like their version of a cashy. You know what I mean? There is no difference in classes. These people are no different than anyone in the physical trades. They've just been put through a different acclimatization period, and the people that came there before them, they've enforced this. Like, you have to have an elite mindset to be a doctor. You have to have an elite mindset to be a professor and all these things. You have to protect our fucking, exclusivity, our industry, by projecting this elitism. Now, if in the opposite, if you project elitism in the manual trades, you'll have a fucking hard time. There is an opposite thing to that. And so this leads to this dynamic going on. But the problem is, it's like we're talking about industrial scale medical and industrial scale construction. See, this didn't exist when the doctor had a bag and he'd come to your house and you'd play lawn bowls with him or meet him at the pub for a couple of drinks. It didn't happen then. Because the person, it's like he might need his wall built. He knows he can't build a wall. If he built a wall, it would fall down. That person's not just they're not a NPC fucking, manual labor automaton. They're a highly skilled physical professional. In whatever, they might run a farm, which is an incredibly complicated thing. They might run masonry thing. They might be a master builder. They might be a master carpenter. These are all skills that were very, very highly regarded. They were at perhaps not quite equal to a doctor, because a doctor, there were a lot less doctors. When you really need a doctor, you really need a doctor. And so this existed. All of these phenomena I'm talking about, they happen in industrial scale medical and industrial scale construction. So no one would care if you're an apprentice, then this is the thing, is like, which is how everyone learned. If you're an apprentice and you only worked with your boss and your master, whatever, in whatever trade, you would kind of imitate them. So if they were like comfortable and efficient and this, I've worked with people like this. That's normal. Then you would develop slow and steady. And that's actually quite a strong thing that a lot of really skilled tradesmen, if they're not forced to present this industrial scale commercial fucking construction worker archetype, they're really slow, and they're just like, oh, I'm just going to do this. There's no hurry. And they have developed their efficient use of their body because they're not being whipped, right? But this doesn't exist anymore. You're thrown straight into a construction site. All the trades are fucking compartmentalized into like one segment of a trade. So you don't even feel accomplished at the end of it. You don't come out as a skilled, independent practitioner because they don't want that. Because those people are a very large threat to this communist socialist system that is, continuously bulldozing our fucking society and replacing it with a queue for the fucking emergency room, and a never-ending fucking box of fucking pills. That's it. The pills are not just fixing small things. Like, they're trying to use pills to fix the entire organization of our entire fucking world, and they are crucial at every single point. Pills now they take the place of concentration camps. They take the place of barbed wire, of security staff, of watchtowers, of everything. They're replaced by pills. You know what I mean? Like compensation for negative environments and negative work practices. They're compensated by pills, not by money, not by time. There is no time. No one has enough fucking time to realize these things on their own. That's the main thing. There is no time. And that gets us back to the geisha. It's like the geisha is not in a hurry to place herself on her knees on the bamboo floor and, begin her tea ceremony. She's not in a hurry. That's why it's beautiful. That's why it looks so natural. It's so efficient and so resemblant of a natural process. Whereas a scrambling around fucking tradie with a tool belt doing the old, like that's someone presenting a bravado, and they don't know. They don't know that. Bravado is stressful. It's stressful, but it's also stressful to be isolated and to be, picked out by a conformist group, and they will do that. So it's like, it's bravado or bust. You know what I mean? If you don't present enough bravado on those sites, then maybe you should go and dance on the pole, you faggot. And then they'll be like, this is not really suitable thing. Maybe we should give him, maybe Then you have a breakdown of conscience. You're like, well, who am I? I'm not this. Who am I? I'm not one of the boys. Who am I? Maybe I'm a girl. And then you go to the doctor and they're like, yeah, no, you probably are a girl. But then that doctor, in his kind of, protected, completely illegitimate, but like protected and reinforced class elitist bubble, he probably goes out and fucking, does ecstasy, fucking gets his things on and fucking is grooving his way across the fucking dance floor on the weekend. It's like, it's all fucking bullshit. And it's really, really, really serious fucking bullshit. Yeah, we're not in a fucking condition here in Australia where our entire population is going to be able to be captured by some type of smooth talking fucking immigrants in a suit with a stethoscope. But they fucking tried it. They tried it. They literally fucking tried this shit. And every single person responsible for making governance on this thing, they played this the worst you possibly could. Every single piece of discrimination against me was because of one thing. It's because I worked in a physical trade. Despite the fact that, it had been 15 years really since I'd been in the construction industry, in the high-vis construction industry, and that I was actually building a fucking business and, reassuring supply chains and, trying to work on fucking all types of things, including protecting the baseline trade skills that are being, rampantly fucking destroyed by technological advancements, to then project this higher class of wholesaler, of supplier mentality. You know, that's drug dealer fucking logic. You supply, you control the supply, you control the marketplace, you control, that's fucking like they've watched Blow. They've watched Blow or Narcos and they're thinking that they're fucking, that they're, what's his name? El Chapo or something. They're like, that's not how it works in this. I'm not just like, my job doesn't revolve just passing a bag to someone and taking their money and taking it back home to fucking daddy. It doesn't involve that. It involves 1,000 different fucking things. All the fucking time. 1,000 different supply chain skills, materials, engineering practices, fucking structural integrity, like salesmanship, like interior, all of the things. You have to be a complete fucking, like, across all of these things to do my job. It's really, really bad. It's really fucking bad. It's all, and the thing is, it's already all happened. All of this has already happened. There are literally young girls across the fucking country that don't have their breasts anymore because some fucking dickwad, you know what I mean, coming down off fucking MDMA at his corporate fucking, you know, surgeon fucking Easter wind-up or something like that, has told this woman and reinforced her down a downward fucking spiral to have her breasts removed. And the same in reverse. Like this is so out of control, and I'm only identifying one little thing. I haven't even started beginning with like things like diabetes and heart conditions. Things like atrial fibrillation, something that I experience, you know, 1,000 times a fucking month because I'm doing something stressful and that's literally the interface that I use to regulate where I am in the world is my heart rate. You know what I mean? Think of a video game. It's like your heart rate, that's, you know, that doom, 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 like that's, and sometimes the interaction between subconscious things, like if you start thinking about things that subconsciously you're being triggered into, you know that you're going away from a conformist mob and that's a dangerous thing to do, then you have, you know, then you notice some type of heart thing. And then the only way for you to conform is to then conform into the doctor's office and for them to start talking to you about beta blockers and fucking, you know, perhaps SSRIs or all these different things. It's like they are conformity regulators. And straying away from conformity on a decreasing and ever trapping fucking structural thing is a threat to your life. And so they push you back in. They're hurting people. They're mustering people into a fucking mob. And they're getting very, very well paid for it. Now, they couldn't muster a fucking cow to save their life. They couldn't fix a fucking fence. They probably can't even change a fucking tire. They definitely couldn't build the building that they're in. You know, but they're creating lifelong return customers. And it's like, well, why aren't I getting some of the rent that they pay on their fucking office? Where's my royalties? You know what I mean? Because that's what that is. That's a royalty structure. You fucking put someone on a lifelong diagnosis. You're benefiting from a collective royalty program. You know, customer retention rewards program. Internalized into your, you know, manufactured elitism. And then you and all your cohorts benefit from a royalty structure. Well, I built your fucking building, cunt. Where's my rent? You know what I mean? Oh, that's extortion, is it? That's extortion. If I go with a baseball bat to a fucking doctor's office and say, I built this building, you know, I wasn't paid enough, it fucked my body, which makes me, you know, brainwashed into thinking I need to go see one of you cunts to fix it. How about I just fucking smash all your fucking windows and you fucking pay me and then I don't? You pay me my fucking royalties because I built that fucking thing. It lives in perpetuality. It lives on. and I'm, entitled to a fucking royalty program from your bloated fucking entitled fucking cunt ass. So why don't you fucking pay me? And then they've got a mate. They're like, well, I just got threatened by this bloke. I got threatened by a bloke that's got calluses on his fucking hands. Quick, send in the fucking goons. He's obviously got fucking some type of mental condition. You know what I mean? Nobody speaks to me like that. Doesn't he know who I am? But it's all cannibalistic. It's like this class system. Our actual class, because we weren't allowed to maintain our higher classes. Right? So in the vacuum, we've had people that have ran away from other classes and then come here and started fucking playing big fucking boys, playing the big fucking class game onto everyone, not knowing that there's like descendants of fucking kings and princes and fucking dukes and commanders and, bishops, and they're everywhere. What the fuck are you talking about? Class? What the fuck are you trying to project your elitist shit? You're a fucking drive-through operator distributing pills, distributing fucking completely useless fucking medical logic, medical fucking bullshit en masse, or you're teaching the same, or you're supporting it as a nurse, or you're supporting it as a fucking lawyer that keeps supporting these fucking cases against malpractice and things, or you're supporting it as a politician, or you're supporting it as a lobbyist for the pharmaceutical industry. You are collectively creating a royalty structure that only benefits people that continue on that thing. And you are subjecting the rest of the population who is literally there, because that's conceptual. Even though you're distributing physical pills and surgeries and things, it's conceptual. That's intellectual property. There's not a true breakdown of like cost of these pills. It's intellectual property. That's why they charge so much. It's intellectual property. You are protecting your intellectual property in a closed loop, controlled fucking system of absolute abuse. And you are stealing the intellectual property, like the fact that you don't pay me royalties of the building you live in that you couldn't build yourself. That requires, I would argue, a higher level of skill, of intellectual fucking property and knowledge, because I'm dealing with something that's real. I'm not operating a scam. You know what I mean? A scam building will fall down. And I can assure you, it's like you'll go to prison for that. It's not called malpractice. It's called like gross negligence or whatever it's called, But that isn't happening. Because the people, the clients of these fucking con artists, they die 10 years, 20 years down the track. They've lived 10 years of pain. The pain can never be quantified. The pain can never be isolated and focused onto the rightful initiator of the pain, or of the poisoning, or of the abuse, or of the fucking torture, or of the fucking mutilation. Nothing, because it's a beneficial, closed loop, fucking controlled, fucking royalty benefits program. As long as people keep coming through the fucking hospital door, this class of practitioners is collectively benefiting from the collective royalty structure. This is what bulk billing is. Bulk billing isn't something to save you money. It's designed to prevent cases of malpractice being able to bubble through, because it's like you don't know, it's not a personal thing. If you're not paying for it, it's like you don't feel entitled to compensation if you've been whatever. It's like all of that is all meticulously designed by a previous class of elites who experimented with industrial scale medical abuse, that experimented with industrial scale medical royalties extraction, conglomerative practices that is seen in every other corporate structure. And all those people are now dead. They've skied the slopes, they've sailed the Med, they've fucked the Epstein girls, they've done it all, they've seen it all, and now they're underground and they've sold off their fucking holdings to the next generation. of, in a lot of cases, immigrants from Asia or from India, from China, from, Japan, all these things. They've sold their industry to that, as any other industry, as if, it could be fucking the McDonald's Corporation, it could be Pepsi. And these franchisees are just doing what was in the goodwill of the purchase. They've read the manifestos. Like, oh, we just do this, we do this. It's like, imagine you run a fucking company that sells like pet supplies. You stick the dog food on the shelf there, you stick the cat food on the shelf there, you get hay bales out the back, you've got chicken feed there, you got fucking all, there's some little toys that the fucking kittens can play with and the collars and all that. And, that's what you buy when you buy a business. You buy all those things and you can personalize it, you give it your own little flair, but the core principles of the business are there. You buy from a wholesaler and you sell to the retail, and you manage all your expenses and your costs and your protocol, and that's what you're doing. Now, you can argue it's like pet food is exactly as necessary as medical, but it's like medical that's where government lives. It's their one reason for existing. It's their entire, they're all in on medical. They can't change it. Literally, if they said, listen, we're going to come in and we're going to create a feedback loop system so that we're trying to capture whatever it's like, then all the unions of everyone involved in that collective royalty program, that con, will strike. They will cause chaos. They will challenge them. They will stop voting for them. They will do all the fucking things. Unless, of course, you declare war on it. Not with bombs. You just declare war on it. You declare war. This is the war on medical corruption. Oh, I had a glitch. This is the war on medical corruption. The global war against medical corruption at all levels. Then it's like it is fucking illegal. If you were seen to have ostracized someone off a fucking construction site because of the way they move or the way they dress or the way they fucking act or any of these fucking things, then your entire job gets shut down. This is the unions have forgotten how to be unions. You know what I mean? You get one fucking case of this. Shut down. You get one case of fucking homophobia, shut down. You get one case of over pushing on time schedules and all these things of conform, even things down to every decision, in this environment, it's down to work boots, down to workflow, down to lifting and loading and all these things. It's that is all to be highly, highly regulated. And if it is seen that we are en masse as multinationals purchasing from China mass products and then distributing them willy-nilly and carelessly regarding the long-term interest of the people doing the work, then we fucking shut the whole thing down. You know what I mean? If that creates a system of urgency because of long waiting times of imports of materials and things like that, you know what I mean? Exposure to unseen chemicals. This is all we're seeing. This is what we're seeing everywhere. Well, it just becomes illegal. You are not allowed to do that. Individual reports flowing, any single person with any, you have lifelong capacity. If you want to run a fucking union corporate construction firm, you have responsibility of lifelong commitment to your employees, which means you are responsible for following their flow through the medical fucking industry that you are propping up, because the rising tide of communism lifts all ships. So you have to have full reports so that you can see this, so that in 10 years when we're sitting here and we go, oh, look what happens. Look what happens to all the people that we ostracize out of our cult, out of our high-vis cult. And it just wasn't being seen because it benefits the other side of the union equation. You know what I mean? It's like we are the cunts that have the high vis and, you know, whip our staff into fucking whatever and destroy the manufacturing industry of the country and destroy the skills and trades and destroy the fucking thing and lowest common denominator fucking. So everybody thinks that construction workers are just immediately fucking bikey drug dealers. Okay. And then at the same time, we prop up the elitist medical fucking unionized fucking cohort of nurses and doctors, majoritively doctors, surgeons, pharmaceutical reps, and the nurses are the grunts that are married to us. And we all fucking think that, like, look what is actually controlling our political flow. It's this massive unseen flow of people that aren't conforming to our fucking radical cult-like fucking conformist, you know, arrangement. And then they're being, you know, chewed up and utilized as fucking fodder for this fucking never-ending fucking medical con. Because what did you go to war with? You went to war with independent operators. You thought you could industrialize the skill transfer of fucking trades and services. You can do a far better job than a 5-year-long, you know, intimate apprenticeship on a myriad of different types of jobs. You know, in the free agent tradesman economy, where these people are free agents, they don't have to do this shit. You know what I mean? And it just became big jobs. It's the big fucking jobs. Yeah, you get that on the big jobs. That's a phrase as old as fucking time. Well, you get what? You get rampant fucking absolute fucking mayhem bullshit on the big jobs. Yeah, I agree. And what are the majority of the big jobs? Hospitals. This is a fucking self-serving, like, feedback loop. It's just this one is providing for the other. You know, it's like, and you're not getting any efficiency. And then the people, like, say you go and start a little fucking husband and wife operation, you know, mining operation. You can't do that. It's all controlled. It's all fucking, this is the thing. So you'll never know. There's no alternative. There's no like, well, me and my missus fucking sat there and we figured out that if we do this, we just automated it all and we actually get a higher level of productivity because we're just slow and steady. Slow and steady is the enemy of the communists because they're in a war. That's the thing. They're in a war against us. Undeclared war. That's the only reason that you do it. Why is there a hurry? You know, it's really funny because it's like, what's the third group of, you know, highly remunerated state-based fucking unionized cohort? Well, police. And what do they spend the majority of their time doing? They fine people for hurrying. That's what they do. They raise revenue by fining people for being in a hurry. But who's doing that for everyone else? So the mining companies were in too much of a hurry and they've fucking sold out our resources for not enough money. They've fucking, you know, they've abused their staff. In a lot of cases, they've raped countless fucking women. They've destroyed our environments. They've blown up fucking Aboriginal shit. You know, our medical industry was in a hurry and it fucking created these closed loops, unchecked medical fucking catastrophes of absolutely ridiculous corruption. And our politicians were in a hurry and they did this. So it's like, wee-oo. Where's the police? Where's the fucking common sense police? You know, there's no doubt in my mind, Albo's flooring it down the freeway, fucking drinking fucking vodka fucking cruisers in a stolen Lamborghini. Well, that gets a fine. You know, when tennis players do that, they get a fine. It's not that abstract. It's like we've been dealing with these flow-on effects and these industrial chains for longer than we've had cars. Definitely longer than we've had fucking, you know, Lamborghinis, and definitely longer than we've had vodka cruisers or fucking speed radars or police lights or anything. So it's like, why have we only fixated on these unionized controlled industries that only police the external and they all look after each other? Well, that's because that's called communism. And the problem is that when they declared communism in like China or the Soviet Union, they did it really quickly. And so the hallmark or negative effect of communism was that they killed a bunch of people and imprisoned them, right? Our communists stretched that out. That's the only thing they took their time on, because they imitated capitalists thing. They imitated. We're in a hurry. Capitalists are always in a hurry because they want to get first to market. They want to break the thing. They want to get, they want to do all these things. They want to, like Domino's Pizza, trying to get your pizza there or it's free. That's capitalist mindset. So the communists of our culture imitated capitalists. They attacked with capitalist fury and rampancy all the other slow and steady operators. Completely whitewashed the whole thing, bulldozed the whole thing, as if for capitalists. And now they sit in their communist fucking protected of each other, just on the lookout, like meerkats. Like, oh, is that guy did that guy start his own little bizno? Is that guy not fucking wearing high vis? Is that guy not doing this? Meanwhile, it's like they're all collectively hooning our whole system. Provably. Like any metric. It's like basically no, they don't declare to you. They would if you really push back at a court for a speeding fine and you said, well, how do you know I was speeding? And they'd have to literally break it down. They'd be like, well, we got point A, point B, it's 500 meters, and we clocked you at times, things. So you moved this amount of space in this amount of time. That's what a speeding fine is. You think of it as just like you get a letter and it's like, oh, shit, speeding fine. But really, legally speaking, they would have to declare those things. They'd have to say, you were operating a motor vehicle on this public road, and we basically... with our technology fucking device, we found that you moved 500 meters in this amount of time, which meant that you were traveling at 110 kilometers an hour in a designated 90 kilometer hour zone. So it's like, why don't we have speed signs, speed limit signs on any other fucking aspect of public infrastructure flow? Why don't we have that? We can have that. And it's because of this. It's like that because we've been in a war. We've been in a war of communist superiority, of communist supremacy, with the only thing of them beating out everyone else. We have ultra capitalists developing, not for personal interests, because that's the devil as far as the communists are concerned. Personal interests, what? You want to buy our property and escape all of us and live there and build fucking build fucking wooden toys. You're an enemy. You're our enemy. We're all in this together, comrades. We're all fucking in this together. And that's what they treat you like an enemy. They go after you with the fucking rampancy as they're hunting fucking Aboriginals on the fucking license. It's like, that's what they're doing. Non-communists are Aboriginals from early colonization, from a cohort that declares that was, crazy. Something, go and check. Put up a fucking thing of recruitment things. Are you a non-communist? Have you been attacked? Yes. Have you been attacked with the rampancy of colonizers, colonizing the Aboriginal people? Yes. Why? Because they're in a hurry. So it's like, where do we put the fucking speed limits? There'd be one like, did you not regulate social media and then are you now trying to ultra regulate social media? That's like getting, what would the analogy of that? It's like speeding. It's like breaking all speed limits to get to the police station to report somebody shoplifting. That's what that's like. You didn't do any of the things for 15 years. Though you were the people in charge, you didn't do anything. See, in my logic, that means you are not the people that should be regulating it. It's not the people that are at the drag races that regulate the speed limits. You are the number one beneficiaries of the unchecked social media system because you utilized it, every single one of you, to get your seats. That's exactly what that is, isn't it? It's speeding, running red lights to get to the fucking police station to then report another crime. And it's like, this is all we need. It's like, all we need is speed limit signs all over the fucking place. Because the person, like, we do not leave the declaration of our laws to the person speeding in the car, because this is what it would end up like. Do you know you were speeding? Yes, I get there faster. That's it. Excuse me, sir, do you know that you were going 20 kilometers over the speed limit? Yeah. I do that very often. It gets me to my destination faster. I don't know if you knew that. Those speed limits are very inefficient. If I just go faster, I get around all the traffic and I get to my location faster, which enables me to be more productive in my life, which, benefits the economy, it benefits the fucking society. And statistically speaking, it is very unlikely that something is going to go wrong and I'm going to kill someone. So if anything, I'm doing you a favor by bringing it to your awareness that breaking the speed limit is actually a far more efficient system of organization, and it will benefit everyone if we all speed. That is literally what our government and our politicians have done regarding the technologies online. Literally. Because there were no fucking speed limits. And the minute there's starting to be demand for speed limits, then this is what they said. And anybody really getting into it, like, I'm getting treated like the person that's doing that, like they've been caught speeding. I already have. I've already been caught speeding, put in jail, given a suspended sentence, ostracized, my business destroyed, my children taken off me, right? But I'm actually sitting there saying we should have speed limits, and this is why. Now, this existed. There weren't speed limits, right? The only people that could afford cars were kind of, in a similar elite status to our medical fucking people over here. They were presenting the same thing. I'm sure there is no doubt that they had that same mentality. I can speed. I've been allowed to buy this car. I don't care about horse and carts. Don't you know that the automobile is going to be the new world? But now we all accept speeding tickets. And we all accept the policing of them. Well, who's policing the police? It's the oldest thing in the world. Who's policing the police? Who's policing the doctors? Who's policing the industries? Who's policing the construction work? Who's policing the supply chains? Who's policing the politicians? Nobody. Because what would we police them on? And this is the core conflict of what everyone's doing. It's like, everyone can see the fucking dead bodies on the road. They can see them every day. There was another dead body this morning on the road, Because what happened is the cars are going too fast and the kids can't get out of the way fast enough. If only there was a speed limit. You think about it. This is like the turn of the century. We're in this fucking place. I'll remind you again. Windscreens of cars were made out of plain plate glass, annealed glass, for like 20 years or 15 years. Almost every single crash you would be in would result in you near death, sliced to pieces by falling like glass. My industry developed the alternative that fixed that. You know what I mean? It's like that. Safe windscreens in combination with speed limits, brought our automobile industry into regulation, which enabled what we see now. This is where we're at with online. This is exactly where we're at. But we have the luxury of the pre-existing examples, but nobody is drawing on them. Our Prime Minister isn't sitting there and declaring how we have exactly sufficient, previously existing analog for this entire industrial concept of the internet. We have that. He's not. He's not sitting. He's speeding down the fucking road in his Lamborghini, and he's giving Australia the excuse. Australia is collectively acting as the policeman, and Albanese saying, "Well, I get there faster." All we've got to do is, change a few of the scenes, change the shot. So he's not standing in front of a podium, rubbing shoulders with royalty. He's stuck down in his car like this, and they're sticking a breathalyzer in his mouth. He's like, yeah, I had a couple of drinks, and I was going sing, but when I drink, I feel better when I'm driving. And when I speed, I get there faster. That's what's happening. And bless him, bless him. How the fuck was he supposed to know that he was going to be caught speeding by the entire fucking, Citizens on Patrol Police Academy that are saying, like, well, don't you think, Prime Minister, we should have some speed limits? Don't you think if we go from 0 to 80% of our teenage population being exposed to a disappearing fucking app service, don't you think that's a little bit fast, considering, teachers still discipline children for passing notes? I don't know what they would do if the notes disappeared. Imagine that. Oh, you got a note? Where did it go? Where did it go? Why are children leading the charge on our adaptation towards our technologies? Because that's just habit. It's just and it's greed. Because the greed, everyone saw what teenagers did, like with music. We saw how much money we made with soft drinks and fucking clothing and fashion and accessories and gadgets and fucking gizmos and shit. For 80 fucking years, we've been profiteering off fucking teenagers. 80 fucking years. So the perceived norm was that, well, of course, we're going to figure out how to profit from them again. And it's like, nope, we're going to put speed limits up everywhere. All of these things need to have speed limits on them. This is public fucking infrastructure. Our legal system, our political system, our government, public infrastructure. Right? And all we have is a bunch of fucking drugged up fucking hoons. Everywhere. All over the fucking place. We're one day away from somebody graffitiing Parliament House and then, like, paying him to do that. It's insane. And it is what everyone expected from an Albanese fucking government. You know what I mean? So, I guess he'll ride his clout from the lower fucking classes. And yes, I said it, the lower classes. He will ride his clout all the way into retirement. You know what I mean? Albo will never buy a beer again, maybe. I don't know, in certain places. Albo, you get it for us, mate. Yeah. And I suppose that is something to celebrate. You know what I mean? I can't ever project to live somewhere else. I can't be like, oh, well, we live in England where the class... Probably England's the opposite. England, the actual class is too high, and that creates this. So we're the inversion. Like the vagina and the penis, we're the inversion of England, of Britain. It's just as shit. It's just as close to the shit. Just as close to the waste coming out of the other hole. It's just the same. It's just different. So we need to learn to link up. So hang on, what about if we do this and this? It's like this all needs to have speed limits and checked. Now that'll do for now. Let's read this. comment. Shannon Cooker. Oh Christ, is this still going? I went and completed a doctorate in the time it took you to make this. Yeah, cool, mate. I went and saw your little, and he's not here, so what I say. I went and saw your little Reddit thing. Like, do you understand that that's classified as stalking, and that so you're a fugitive on the run? Yeah, which is weird. It's weird to do that. Like, you are under the impression that you're protected in the digital sense, despite the obvious conclusion that all of this digital thing is being wound up. Like, this is what that's what these people do. These are the fucking pedophiles. This is the mindset. This is where this pedophile thing actually was created. It was by people in fucking weird little nerd caves observing other people from this protracted position, all their intimate details, just as they rode the wave of global fucking, global surveillance, and knew and had the key. I got left with these keys. I can get in things. They've been globally surveilling everyone. They've been, they've been developing this weird evolutionary status of this observer class of fucking nerds, and they hang out in places like Reddit and they speak to each other in this fucking coded language of elitist nerdism. And they are the fucking target of the military. They are the Osama bin Ladens in the caves. They are in caves. They are, they are terrorizing the world. They are systemically, surveilling the world. They are plotting and scheming and doing this shit. This is what they do. All we need is to manufacture enough consent to go and kick these people's doors down. Stick 1,000 cameras in their face and show them to the world. I'm showing myself to the world every fucking day. These people aren't. And they have amazing sway. It's like, look at my capacity, the amount of content I produce a day, the amount of interactions, what I'm trying to do to build up this objection. Each one of these fuckers is way more capable technically online and in the internet and with coding and shit than I am. So imagine what they're collectively doing. They are a class collectively, a feedback loop, a fucking closed loop, surveillance, nerd-based fucking culture that is existing as well. They are the fourth pillar of this fucking communist thing. And they are targets. Not for bombs, that targets for raids. These dungeons, it's like these chat rooms, these forums, and these things. Like, you think there's coded language in the Epstein files. Like, you wait till you get into fucking see what these fuckers are doing collectively. What they're tapped into, what's giving them their fucking status. I don't sit there. Everything I observe is in the public arena, and everything I present is in the public arena. I'm not sneaking around, webcams, fucking people's security cameras, microphones, all this shit, bank accounts, like, I'm not doing that. But these people are. See, and this is the inevitable conclusion of 30, 40 years of elevating fucking intelligence. These people believe that because it has been the way for these intelligence that they have, the rightful claim to do the same behavior. Well, all intelligence agencies across the world are trying to break out of that. They're trying to, restore transparency, because it doesn't actually benefit any of our nations to have this amount of espionage or, all the subterfuge going on. It doesn't, because we're losing track of our own code and our own protocols, and we're being exposed by supercomputers, So there's no point. Whereas this class of independent espionage experts, the amateur fucking hacker class, they're still there. And they have, they've stopped being the Matrix kind of, freedom fighting, liberated communist fucking rebels. And they're now entrepreneurs of absolute filth and of thing. It's like every young child that has a fucking smartphone is a target for these people. And I guarantee you they are already utilizing it. I guarantee you there is intense supply chains I've already seen it. I would love nothing more than to have the fucking resources to go after these pricks and to put them in fucking the nets that they think that they've got all of us in. You think this weird, like, there is no way in any other, we haven't got to where we were to be able to develop these environments and landscapes. We didn't get there by privacy. That's the illusion. We got there by transparency and by openness. Like, you had to be present. You had to do things in it. These networks aren't the reality. They're absolutely dark web bullshit fucking, terrorist fucking tunnels. All through, like Swiss cheese, through our entire fucking landscape. I can't, and I've shown it. It's like, this is what happens when you enable technological, socialism, uniformity. So it's like, you can just press a button and you've blocked everyone. Like these people, like, he's using a pseudonym of my name, then going and commenting on Reddit in a little closed loop thing. Like, that's stalking. He's not here to contribute to anything. I'm not in a big flow of things where there's tons of comments. That would be different. That would be a different thing. I'm expecting a few trolls. This is a different level. It's a different level of shit. It exists and thrives in the Albanese fucking model of communism. Where the police they're policing only within the benefit structure of the royalty fucking closed loop benefit structure of collective fucking socialist organization. And I don't have, it's like, right, we'll have an election. See, they all want to talk about having a referendum for whether we want to become a republic. I don't remember having a referendum whether we wanted to be communists. You are communists. You didn't do it, with rampancy and a revolution. You did it slow and methodically, and you fucking saturated, sneakily our entire structures. But I still want to have an election. If Australia wins the election that they want to be communists, then I will leave Australia. You know what I mean? And I already have too much here in the public arena, in the global public arena, for you to do anything. So you have to do that. You have to have a referendum about whether the level of communism is acceptable. That's the only referendum that I will accept. It's like, you have that. Is the level, because it's like, that's what you're doing with the referendum to me. It's like, is the level of monarchy acceptable? It's not a referendum whether you want to have a monarchy. It's like, you're declaring this thing. You've been at war with the monarchy for far longer than the monarchy's been at war with you. So that's the only acceptable referendum. Is the level of communism in Australia under this government acceptable? Yes or no? That's it. Once you have that referendum, if you win that referendum, I will happily fucking sell my assets and relocate and wish you all the best in your fucking communist journey. But until that referendum is done, I will sit here in opposition and I will, continue to explore the concepts of common sense solutions like, speed limits, like productivity targets, like well-being targets, like, feedback loops to prevent rampant fucking malpractice and rampant corruption, like all these things. We're surrounded by these things. They are, in a lot of cases, the revenue for these systems, for the police and things like that. So I guess I'm starting a police force. I think that's where Elon went wrong. Elon went in there and tried, like a corporation. He said, I'm going to fire these people. I'm going to fire these things. It's like, no. I'm going to fine them. You're going to get infringements. You've gone too fast. You've allowed this to come through. You've distributed phones into our fucking thing. It's like, this is how, that's revenue. It's just as relevant. It's like, think about, it's like what's happening with a police officer. They're driving a car that they purchased with a machine that they purchased to regulate a sign that they purchased to regulate someone else driving in accordance with that sign in something that they purchased. You know what I mean? And then all these things is like, that's exactly the same. It's all the same. Why aren't we fining JB Hi-Fi for distributing fucking phones that contain Snapchat? Why didn't you warn your customers about the dangers of Snapchat? This was the pre-existing era. You know, all computers came with antivirus software. They came with tons of advice telling you how dangerous the fucking internet was and all these things. That was the whole thing. This has just been like, you've almost sold smartphones as if they're a crash helmet, you know, with no warnings. There's no warning sticker that says Snapchat is connected to a global distribution of fucking sex trafficking. Where's the warning? You know, if I install a fucking sliding door that doesn't have decals on it, I get a fine. Where's the decal on the thing? If you remove this sticker, you know, all bicycles have this same sticker. Do not do stunts and involve dangerous behavior. Wow. Fucking whole industry here that's gone under the regulators under the fucking bridge, just unnoticed. How did that happen? Where's the sticker? Where's the warning? Anyway, that'll do. That was a long one. Wish you all the best. Have a great day. Goodbye.